Can 12 swords change the fate of a nation, or even just the fate of the two people seeking them? Hello everybody and welcome to this light novel review. I'm Justus Stone, and on my channel I cover all things light novels, reviews like this, news, countdowns of the most popular titles in Japan, and the light novel podcast is posted here as well. So if you love light novels or you're just starting to get interested in them, you should consider subscribing. For viewers in North America, hang out till the end of this video for a special first time ever on this channel giveaway. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing volume number 1, well technically it's Omnibus volume number 1 of Nisioisin's light novel series Katanagatari. This one released in English by Vertical. If you want to pick up your own copy, I do have links to Amazon as well as the book depository in the description down below. Katanagatari is Nisioisin's period piece, although in usual Nisioisin style he breaks lots of rules and has all sorts of historical inaccuracies, but whatever, that's fine. It is set about 100 years after the Warring States period in Japanese history, and it's set 20 years after a rebellion threatened to destabilize all of Japan. Now, at the point that this book takes place, 20 years after that rebellion, Japan basically has a time of peace. It's being ruled under a new shogun, the Bakufu, and he, in order to try and maintain this peace and maintain his hold on Japan, decides that he is going to try and seek out the blades of a certain particular and somewhat peculiar swordsmaster. This swordsmaster developed 1,000 blades, but of those 1,000, 12 are unaccounted for, and those 12 are the most important because those 12 are considered his masterpieces that appear to each have a very unique ability, maybe even their own unique soul. They are supposedly powerful enough that they could help determine the direction of the country, particularly if they were held by one person. So to this end, he sends out his agent Togame the Schemer. Now, Togame has risen through the ranks with her plans and ideas, and so she sets out to try and find these 12 blades. It becomes very clear to her early on that it's not going to be an easy task, particularly because the swords, once they are in the hands of a swordsman, they seem to take him over. They are almost like a possessed blade. In fact, they're called possessed blades at certain points throughout the book. And so she decides that in order to beat the blades and to gather them, she must seek out a swordsman who doesn't rely on swords. To this end, she ends up teaming up with Shichika, who is the current master of the Kyoto Ryu, which is a form of swordsmanship where you do not use swords. Shichika has been living on an island for 20 years with his dad and his sister because his father was exiled there after the rebellion. Now, after his father's passing, he really has no reason to stay on the island, and so he decides to team up with Togame to go out and learn about the world at large and to seek out the 12 possessed blades. Now, just a word on Vertical's release right off the bat. This is, as I said, an omnibus. In Japan, when these books were released, they were released at a pace of 1 per month, which means that they were a little bit shorter. And so what Vertical has done is they are collecting 3 volumes into a single omnibus. And so they'll be releasing 4 omnibus volumes, each containing 3 volumes. This one, of course, being number 1. It has volumes 1, 2, and 3 contained within, so you're basically getting 3 light novels for the price of 1. It does have, this cover is the cover of the first volume, and then it has the covers of 2 and 3 as fold-out gatefold type images inside the book, and you can't see it because of that, and yeah. Now in this first volume, it is a bit of a repetitive tale. Of course, the idea is that they are seeking 12 blades. We know there's 12 books, and so it kind of follows in that routine that, well, a blade a book. Now, supposedly, I have been told that it kind of changes things up a little bit later in the series, but definitely in this first omnibus, in these first 3 books, that is very much the routine, is go seek a sword, get a sword. we aren't really reading this because we think that Shichika and Togame are going to fail. I mean, that's not really the main conflict here. Really, the reason to be reading this book is because A, Togame and Shichika are two excellent characters that are very different and unique. B, because you're going to start wondering, just what are these blades? What is each of these blades going to do? What kind of characteristics is the new blade going to have? And how is the person who wields it going to actually use it in battle against Shichika? And once that actually happens, how's Shichika gonna overcome it? To that end, Shichika and Togame make a great pair of characters. Shichika, who of course has been raised on an island and is largely ignorant about the world and just even about human relationships in general, has a sense of sort of ignorant innocence to him. Well, Togame, who of course has had to deal with a lot of things to rise to the point of where she is in the Bakufu's cabinet, she is much more worldly and much more wary about what is going on. I mean, she's Togame the schemer, and she's called that for a reason. What makes this book fun, though, is that Nisioisin really just seems to be doing it for kicks. He's not writing some really hard, serious type of fantasy novel. In fact, Nisioisin is this very active, omnipotent author in this series where he just narrates it in the third person, but he often will pause to make comments to the reader, his typical sort of fourth wall breaking that happens all the time in his books. Even the characters themselves, sometimes it feels like Togame at times when she's talking about how she's going to write up Shichika's adventures, she often talks about things that you feel are more Nisioisin himself talking. So he uses even the characters themselves as almost a self-insert to put his thoughts about writing and about whether people will even read this and whether they'll enjoy it into the book. If you're familiar with Nisioisin's work, I would say that this book is probably closest to Nisioisin, which in a way structured sort of the same way that each chapter featured a particular battle, and the question was, what is that person's powers, how are they going to use them, and how is the person fighting them going to overcome? The main difference is that in this one we have the same two characters, Togame and Shichika, on this journey, and so it's much more accessible, I would say, in a lot of ways, and actually a lot more engaging because you're constantly with the same two characters, and they happen to be very likable characters. Because of the nature of the story, and because it is told more in the third person or from an omnipotent narrator's point of view, you don't have the same sort of inner dialogue and the same sort of banter that you do in the Monogatari series. You don't have conversations that last for 60 pages but really ultimately don't mean a whole lot to the story. We do have these conversations occurring between Togame and Shichika, but the fun in that aspect is that it is Togame trying basically to school Shichika in the way that the world works, or trying to encourage him to be away because she wants the book or what she's going to write about him to be more interesting. For instance, there's a really actually quite funny conversation they have early on that is about him developing a catchphrase because she thinks that that will make him a more interesting character. It's also to the book's credit that it has a lot of very interesting side characters, even if we don't see them for much more than a single volume. For instance, each of the wielders of the cursed or possessed or mutant blades, they're referred to in a different number of different ways, but in terms of these actual swords they're seeking, each of them are wielded by a unique individual. So each book, the battle between Shichika and the wielder of the sword feels very unique. There's different personality to it because of the person who is wielding the sword, because of how they wield the sword, and because each of the swords has very unique characteristics. It means that the battles are all very unique in and of themselves. There's also the fun sort of rewarding experience of the fact that there's a lot of running gags in this book, and I don't really want to go through them all because I don't want to spoil a whole lot, but it really does show as you start, like even in these first 3 books, you'll immediately start picking up on a couple of things that are kind of these running jokes or like very openly and explicit running jokes, but even just the sort of feeling that you get out of the book in terms of like just how successful Togame's schemes are, and just how Shichika, who is supposedly framed as being an idiot, usually seems to come up with the solution to things. These are all sort of running ideas and running gags and ways that Nisioisin throughout the book plays with your expectations, where he gives you a character that you expect them to be a certain way, and then they turn out to be completely different. All in all, I found this book to actually be really a fun ride, and as I said, populated with some very quirky and interesting characters, much like a lot of Nisioisin's works, but I would still say that overall, Shichika and Togame are, even in some ways, more approachable and likable as characters than some of the other ones that we have seen in Nisioisin's other works. We actually did a podcast based on this book that should be posted in the next couple days, and we went a lot deeper dive on a number of aspects of this book. And you know, one of the things that Kyle said, and I have to agree with him, is that Nisioisin, you get a different Nisioisin every book, but this is probably the most approachable and accessible for people that are not already Nisioisin fans. One other interesting aspect of this book, and I won't go too deep on it because we do talk about it quite a bit in the podcast, is that they have included translation footnotes in the book. In fact, almost every single page has footnotes. I don't know how well you'll be able to see them. Down there. Each of the page has those footnotes with some explanation about the translator's choice in terms of the English word he used, or in cases where he has maintained the Japanese term, he tells you sort of the background of what it means or some of the historical significance of it. If you're really interested in how light novels get translated into English, it's kind of a cool thing to have, and it's kind of instructional to just see sort of the thought process behind translating Japanese into English. All in all, a really good book, and again, with the quality that we have seen from Vertical with the Monogatari series in terms of a really decent translation, very readable, and relatively free of grammar errors. I mean, almost entirely free of them that I can recall. Not so many that it really made me think of them. Again, these books get done really, really well that way. And I don't know if that's partly just because with Nisioisin and his ridiculous wordplay, it kind of requires them to fine-tooth comb the whole thing or not. But just all in all, they've done a really good job by Nisioisin with his books. In terms of the giveaway that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, from Vertical, I have 3 sets of unique bookmarks. There were 3 bookmarks in each set, and these were created by Vertical, I believe for convention time or as a promotional item for Katanagatari. They're pretty hard to get your hands on, and so I have 3 sets of 3 to give away. This is only for North American viewers. I am sorry for all of you watching elsewhere in the world, but at this time only for North American viewers. So all you have to do to get the opportunity to win one of these sets of 3 bookmarks is give this video a like, leave a comment in the comments section saying that you're interested, and you'll have until December 31st, 2018 to enter. On January 1st, I will draw a name, 3 names at random, and I will use the community section, which is the one that I use to like do announcements about licenses and stuff like that. I will post the winners there, and then we'll get in touch and get your address, and we will get those bookmarks to you. It's that simple. To make sure you don't miss the announcement, you might want to hit that bell thing in the bottom. I never really talk about that, but apparently that way you'll never miss any of my videos or any posts that I make. So if you want to keep up with that, then you can go ahead and hit that bell as well. Now, if you want to double your chances of winning, like I said, we do have a light novel podcast that's going to be up in a couple of days, and it is actually... we have another set of 3 of the 3 bookmarks to give away, and it's going to be the exact same thing. Just leave a comment, hit a like, and you can win. So you've actually got the chance to double your odds between this video and the light novel podcast on Katanagatari as well. For my next review, I'm going to be doing volume number 8 of Overlord. I want to make sure that I'm all caught up because volume 9 comes out in January, and that's going to resolve the cliffhanger from volume 7 that came out a while ago. So I want to make sure I'm all caught up and ready to read that when it comes out. So thanks for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.